Hey everyone, welcome back. Another new day here at the Redneck Coachworks. Saturday morning. It's been quite the week. We had virtually no winter there. We had that 7-day cold snap where it got down into the minus 40s, some places into the minus 50s. And then it warmed up again and everything pretty much melted. And then probably Tuesday this week, we got hit with freezing rain, temperatures dropped a bit, then we got a big dump of snow, and it's put anything on the roads is on hold. My A-pillars shipped from Ontario, they landed in Regina, Saskatchewan on Tuesday morning, I think it was, or Tuesday about noon. And that's where they're stuck. They can't get out of there. The Trans-Canada Highway was closed down for I don't know how many hours, 4 or 5 times because of accidents. So I've got no parts for that. The furnace in the shop quit. The first day it got really cold, so I spent 2 or 3 hours on a ladder. It turns out that there's a flame sensor. There's a steel rod with a ceramic insulator that senses a flame. I had the same thing go wrong with my house furnace a month and a half ago, and it cost me $500 to get it fixed. This one I couldn't find any parts for, and I had to get it fixed. So there's an old guy that gas fitter, he's semi-retired. He did the gas line for me. I phoned him up and he told me I was an idiot. You don't replace them, you just clean them with steel wool and some fine sandpaper, polish them up, and it works like a charm. So if you happen to have a flame sensor rod go bad, just take it out and clean it. Save you a whole bunch of money. So next thing I've been working on is the left-hand fender. I got, there was some really bad cracks. This was split. I've already got it welded up, but it was split from here around. The bottom part was folded in, and this whole bottom piece was folded in. I got it straightened out pretty good. This is still pretty bad here. I got to do a little more straightening, and then I'm going to have to rebuild this piece. But my biggest problem on this is this inside brace is completely rotted out, and it's got a lot of different contours to it. It's got relief here for bolts. It's got the lower mount hole and nut. There's another relief here for a bolt. This special shape on the bottom. It's got this area here that is depressed. That fits around the pocket where the hinge goes, the lower hinge. So I've ordered this. It's coming out of Alberta. It's probably going to get mailed Monday morning. It goes up 16 inches from the bottom because the top part of it's good. So what I'll do is I'll just figure out where I'm going to cut my fender off here, just above the rust, which should be about here. The join on the brace will probably be a little below that. So I'm going to put a fillet on the inside where it joins to keep it straight. I was going to attempt to make this, but it's got the factory shape for the fender, as well as the curve in and outwards. And with the fender being in as bad a shape, I figured I better start with the factory piece for this, or I could end up with a real mess. So I'll probably figure out where I cut it. I'll cut it, and then I'll just grind this back lip off. Then I can put the new piece on and use this back lip to line it up. And then once this is all welded in, then I'll cut out the piece of fender I have to replace and replace it. In the meantime, I've got a couple of small dents I have to work out at the front. I'll get that done. The next thing I've been working on, and every time I start working on this, I find new repair stuff I need to do. This little hole ended up being completely nothing left on the bottom like the other side. This chamber up here, which is where your fresh air comes in, it's rusted out here and here. And I found out that this A-pillar is rusted out in 3 spots at the bottom here. So That comes with the new A-pillars I've got, so it looks like I'm going to be doing major surgery here and putting this piece in as well all the way down. So I'm going to have to get my data tags, my serial number plate off nice and gently so I don't wreck them, and go with that. So I think while I'm waiting for parts to come in, which could be mid next week, late next week, I'm going to start working on the floors. I just have a little bit of rust repair to do on the front section here. I've got these front cab mount bolts loose. Well, I've got them soaking. I got the one on the passenger side to turn, but I can't break the nut loose on the bolt, so I'm just going to split the nut with a zip disc, and then I can pound the bolt out. So that's where I'm at. I'm just going to keep pounding away on this, and then once I get into the floors here, hopefully that doesn't have a whole bunch of nightmares in it as well, I'll bring you back. So we got a bunch more ripped apart here. What I found on the cab bolt, the front cab mount bolt on this side, there's no way I could get it to turn at all. It was seized into the bushing that goes through the actual cab mount that's attached to the frame. So what I did was, I'll just show you here, I've got the nut. So this is the bolt, and there's access on the bottom. So what I did was I ran my zip disc up each side of the bolt and split the edges off of the nut. Once you give it a crack with a hammer, the nut just falls off. And then I could use my air chisel on the bottom and I could push this bolt up. So I ended up getting them both out the same way. I couldn't get the nuts to break loose, so I split them both with the zip disc. And then I proceeded to start taking the dash apart in here, get some more room for working on the floors. Couldn't get the steering wheel to come off of the column for love nor money. I beat the living shit out of it and it still wouldn't come. So then I took the zip disc and I cut the column about 3/4 of the way through, and then for some reason I let the smoke out of the angle grinder. It just decided it was done. So now I got to grab another one of those later in the week here. So going over my floors, I'm actually quite impressed. The only spots that are going to need replacing is mostly around where the mounts go here. This has got a lot of rust pitting, but it's really solid. All of the paint on the bottom is still intact. There's no issues whatsoever. This area in front here, see if I can get the light in a better spot. I've got some holes from about here over, and it goes across to here and then up this edge to here. So I'm only going to have to replace this small section on this side, and on the passenger side I only have to make a patch for where the bolt goes in. Over there it's completely solid. So all I'll do is wire brush the shit out of this, put some rust converter on it, and then I can prime it and put some good texture paint on it just to stop it from rusting anymore. So the next thing I'm going to continue with here now is I'm going to make these patches, get them ready to put in, clean the floor all up. Back again here. It's Monday morning and didn't get a whole lot done yesterday. Got this section cut out of the floor on the passenger side and discovered, go figure, a whole bunch more rust. It's pretty bad in there all the way down. There's virtually no structure left at all down here. So I think before I put that piece of floor in, and I've still got access here, I'm going to start making this piece. It's kind of a critical piece. The door hinge bolts here, the fender bolts here. So yeah, it should be kind of interesting here. I've got all of this weird shape hinge pocket, or this is kind of a pocket for the hinge. This I don't believe has to be here. So anyhow, we'll start cutting and hacking and making some new pieces here. Back again, still peeling away at this old rusty onion. So this is the disaster we've got here where the lower hinge on the A-pillar on the back side is. This is the piece that I cut out. You can see there's not much left of it. This is really critical here. It locates the back side of the hinge. So I got this piece, cut it out, figured out what is necessary. There's a big bulge in it right here that gives clearance for the hinge on the inside. Then it comes in and welds to the bracket at the bottom here where the fender bolts on. Down here it's welded on two sides. This dimple here, from what I can understand, what I can see, it's only there to strengthen this corner piece a little bit. So after a couple hours of beating and hacking, and I've got a replacement piece partially put together. I'm going to have to do it in a few pieces. So I'll just get this in here and I'll show you pretty much how it's going to fit. I got a cleco hole in the bottom. And then there's the bolt for the hinge. Get this clamped. Pretty rough at the moment here. Just got a shim I'm sticking in there, and we'll snug this up. So this will push in. Okay, so what I have to do now, I have the piece set in place. This is going to get welded onto the corner here. There's quite a bit of good material behind there. What I'm going to do is put 3 tacks, one at the bottom, one in the middle, one at the top. And then I've got to fit the fender on here just to make sure that there's enough clearance. This is really tight on the inside of the fender. For some reason they put the rear brace right here, right where there's no room for it. So before I do any welding, what I did here, actually to build this piece, I took the piece, just a blank piece of 18 gauge, I broke it at 90 degrees on the back, come over 3 inches, broke it at 90, and then right on the center of the brake, it's got a really big radius. So using my key block in the vise, I rounded this over. I figured out the radius of it so that it matched up here and come down, and it kept the 90 degree in it there. So then I split it and pushed this out with a ton of hammering to get the clearance. So once I get this tacked in 3 spots, then I can fit the fender and see if this is too far out or if I can come out a little bit more. And then I'm going to cut a wedge and weld it in there, and then I'll finish sealing off the bottom of it here. Before this piece goes in, there's another piece that covers the back end of the vent box here, where the duct comes in for the heater and the vent, and the back side of it is rusted where it goes into the kick panel. So I'm going to have to replace that piece before I weld this one in, and it'll come here, and this piece, the inner piece, and this one will all get welded together down this side here. Then I can fill in the front of this, seal off the bottom, keep all the mice and everything out for the future here. So I'm just going to get this fit and tacked, and then we'll see how the fender fits. Okay, I got the fender bolted on. I'm actually pretty surprised here. See if I can get you in and it'll focus. So right, I don't know if I can find something to point with. Just a sec. So right here, where the screwdriver tip is, this is where that clearance area is in the brace. This is, you can see the brace, I think, running down the side here. So I'm really close right there where the screwdriver tip is. Good clearance here. I'm going to tap this in a little bit once I take the fender off. And I can make my wedge to go in here and seal this up. And then the bottom part here, it took a 1/8 shim on the fender to get it out where it's supposed to be. And then from here, I'll build a cover that comes down and it'll weld to the brace where the fender goes, right at the top edge of it. That'll seal this in, and then I can start filling in the backside here to keep the dirt from going up and mice from getting in there. So that'll all tie into the floor where I cut the floor out, which is this piece right there. So hopefully this is going to go good. The next tough piece I got to do is going to be that piece on the inside that seals off the duct for the air vent and the heater. Okay everyone, we're back again. Making some more progress here. I've got this thing is all filled in. I made a close-in piece on the bottom. The top of this bracket is where this piece welds to. There's 3 spot welds. So what I'm going to do is break a 90 that is probably 1/2 inch up here, and it'll cover this bottom one, and it'll get spot welded to here and then spot welded to the lower piece. What I'll probably do is bend the piece, clamp it in here, fit this, get the exact location where it goes, then I'll spot weld it to this piece first, and then spot weld this in when I go to weld this whole filler panel in here. So I've got the front edge of this is all cut to the proper dimensions here. Then that'll get a fill in after I make the piece for the air box here. So that'll be the next thing we work on. The other thing that happened yesterday, we had some parts come in. They're looking pretty nice. Took forever for shipping. They got stranded in Regina, about 3.5 hours away from me. They just sat there for 6 days and nobody could tell me what's going on. So it's the complete A-pillar inners and outers. It looks like a pretty nice piece. I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to install them yet. That's going to be a real trick because I got to hold the firewall, the dash, and the roof all in place at the same time. So this is the lower part of the dog leg here, or the outer part of the dog leg. This is the inner part. And they go together something like this to form the ridge for the windshield here. So it's going to take quite a bit of fitting and screwing around. I see they're not exactly right, so this could be a real invention of new swear words. So I might have to empty the swear jar before I get started. So anyhow, we'll carry on with this other repair first, and then we'll probably get started on the pillar on the passenger side here. Okay guys, here's the next piece we're working on. It's the back side of this airbox I had mentioned in a little bit previous. So this piece right here goes right in and forms part of the kick panel. And as you can see, I can poke holes in it with a little pointy object really easy. So I'm going to have to cut it across here, grind it off of this piece, and then figure out where I'm going to on the inside here. I'll just show you what the inside looks like. If I can get you in here. So here's the inside of it here. It comes down from up above the windshield down, and it forms this part of the kick panel. There's another rust hole here, and it's really thin all the way down. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to have to cut it and then make this whole piece new here. And I'm not really worried about having the air chamber. If it's smaller, it doesn't really matter because I plan on putting aftermarket air conditioning in this anyhow. So I'm going to figure out what I have to cut out, get it cut out, and then we'll make a plan and make a new piece to go in here. Okay, so I got a piece cut out of there. As you can see, it's in pretty rough shape. I'm not sure how much of this curve and stuff I'm going to need. I did find another full dustpan of old windshield wiper blades and mouse nests. So not good, but we'll get this all cleaned out, figure out what we're going to do for a patch here, and carry on. Okay, everyone, back again, another new day here. I got everything all cleaned up. I got everything trimmed back to good steel inside here. I sprayed as much primer as I could up inside after I rust converted everything. And then wherever I've got a weld here, I put weld through primer. So this is the piece that I made. I broke it 90 degrees here. There's a couple of weird breaks here. I had to put a curve in it, and then this flange along the side here that'll weld along the flat. So I will get this clamped in here and show you how this all goes together. It's a bit tricky. One on the inside. Bottom. One up there. So, okay, so I have this piece all clamped in. What I've got to do is just tack weld it. On the inside where the kick panel was, I drilled holes for plug welding. And then the actual screw-on kick panel will cover up all of these plug welds and everything on the inside here. So I'm just going to give it a couple tacks for the time being. The reason I have to do that is because then I have to fit my outer piece to make sure it's going to fit in here the way it's supposed to. Okay, we're back again, plugging away at it. I've got the new corner piece here all tacked in. I'm just going to weld that all up. It's all joined in to the, hopefully I can get in here, to the inside piece. I got to do some welds on the inside there too, and then that'll all just get seam sealed. I put plug welds in here, so this is strong now. I'll have to fill the back in when I do the patch on the floor here. So I'm going to keep welding on this, get this all welded in, get it all cleaned up, and I can put some primer on it. Okay, we're back again, another new day. I've got all of the welding done on the hinge box here. It's all welded in. I'm just going to start working on closing the back in. Before I can close the back in, I had to do my floor repair, and I'm just working on that now. I've got a patch panel cut out and made. I've got a depression put in for the cab bolt, and I'll show you how I did that. Just pull this out of here. So I've got broke on this edge where it welds to the cab mount there. So the way I'm doing this is a little different than the factory. The factory had the depression in the floor, but then they had this heavy washer that's stuck above the floor, and I'm just going to change that up a little just to make it a little easier I don't know if these are available, but I didn't want to have the extra expense. So what I've done is I use 2 different sizes in my 3/4 inch drive socket set and 2 different push sizes on top. And I'll just show you how I got this set up. Just take you over to the press. Bear with me a sec here, I got to get you into the tripod and over to the press. So see if I can get enough stuff out of the way. Get you down low enough. I've shown this on some of my other videos doing other projects, but probably best to do it again here. So I started off when I did the first one in the floor here. I used a 2.5 inch, 1 3/4 socket. 2.5? Nope, it must have been a little smaller than that. 1 3/4. So I pushed this down about 3/8 of an inch. It distorted the hell out of the panel, so I had to planish it all flat again. I still have a little bit more to do. So when you're doing this, I marked the center for the 2 sockets. The one on the bottom, I used masking tape and taped it in place so that it didn't move. Set it on the press and then line up the top one where it has to go. And then what I'm doing is I'm making a doubler piece that goes on the bottom, and I'm going to weld that to this to make it twice as thick. And then I'll just drill my 1/2 inch hole and use a big flat washer, like a body washer right there. So the way I do this, let me just put this floor piece down. I found it best to take a piece a little bit oversized by about 2 inches in all directions. I marked an X on both sides, laid my socket on, lined it up on the X, stick it in your press, line your top one up on the circle where it goes, and then just press it down slowly. It'll start to distort really bad, so just go halfway and then take it, planish the whole panel flat, and then just creep up on it to the depth that you need with the press, and it worked really well. So I'm now going to trim this into a circle, get it fit up. I'm going to put weld through primer on both pieces, and then I'll weld this to the upper piece of the floor there. Okay, so I got everything cleaned up and planished. I gave this a little bit of a grind, wiped everything down with acetone. This is my doubler that I made. I might have got a little carried away with the plug weld holes, but I guess more is better. I put 2 in here just to make sure that I get a good seal at the bottom. Put this on, I'm going to clamp it. I'll plug weld this all together. Once I install the floor, I will drill the hole from underneath up through the body mount, which will make sure that everything lines up perfectly. So next thing I'm going to do is get this all plug welded, and then I can finish fitting this floor repair. Okay, we're back again. I've got the floor repair is all done. It's flanged on the side here to receive the cover for the hinge box. Got the recess done, hole drilled out. Oh, put a nut on the bottom of it already. So I plug welded it across here and then butt welded it all across where I cut the old one out. And so that wraps up this, except for filling in on the back side of the hinge box there. I was going to do that right away, but I think I'm going to leave it now until after the A-pillar's done, in case I need to get access in there for welding the A-pillar in. So next project I'm going to do, I got the fender brace part came in. It's just the lower half of it. It goes on there, so I can get this installed, and then I can do the rust repair on this fender. And then that'll wrap up my 2 fenders, and we'll be getting a whole bunch closer there. So I'll just get you in the stand here. So I've been doing a little bit of research. Can't find a whole lot on YouTube about doing the A-pillars. I found one fella that did the complete with the air boxes and everything. Pretty much totally different than what I'm doing. What I have figured out is I have to repair above the windshield, the inner piece and the outer piece before I do the A-pillars, because the A-pillars overlap on the inside and hold that all together. So I think that'll be my next video. I'll be starting on that. Probably I'm going to work on this fender tomorrow, so Sunday I will probably get at starting on that roof repair. So that'll be the next video, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing, and we'll catch you on the next one.